appreciate it. I'm really pleased to be here this morning to share my slideshow, my story, and I'm glad to be, part of the group. I've been coming the past few weeks. Michael invited me, so I appreciate it. Michael's doing some social media promotions with us, with Paul, and we have Paul Bates is our guy that did the slideshow. He's our digital analytics manager, and among other things, IT and marketing for our company. Also here today, some of the people with the black shirts are our team, and I'll introduce them a little later. But that's really important to me because you can't do it. You're only as good as your team.
Amen.
And hiring the right people, hiring people that are smarter than you is the only way to go. Also, I want to introduce my mother, who's here today, Lois Clark Lesh, right here. St. Patrick's Day green on.
Yes.
Right. And so, we're a small family business. We're growing. We're maybe a medium-sized business at this point. So that's why my story is going from small to medium-sized business. And I'm like, I guess, third-generation entrepreneur in our family. My mom's father was a realtor up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And then my other grandfather had bakeries up in northern Illinois. Then I guess I'll go ahead and get into the history of our company. This is a picture of my father. So what we're talking about today is our company history, but also some talk about airplanes and how that relates to our company history. All War Properties is our company, and we also we're also known as Clark Properties. That's what we were called before we rebranded as All Water Properties and used the train logo, which we have a train down at our property in Port Orange. So that's kind of our mascot. So a little bit of history of our property was my father and I as business partners that really grew the company over the past 30 years. This is a picture of my father when he was in the U.S. Navy in San Diego, California. He was there for 2 years. They had a 2-year program after World War II. And then shortly after that, he started building houses. He was a home builder for like 15 years, starting up in northern Illinois. And he was a carpenter as well as a mason, did everything himself. And we had a chance to go up and visit the first house he ever built in 1949 up in Illinois. That's a picture of it. Still standing today, so it was built right. He got tired of the snow, ended up looking around to where to move, and ended up moving to Daytona Beach in the early 1950s. My wife's here, all right, Molly, pardon. Yes, so he lived up in the North Peninsula, Ormond by the Sea, and he built a couple oceanfront motels. They're called like motor courts back then. This is a picture of one of the properties that he built and ran with his family. Also in the 50s, he, as a hobby, started flying as like mid-1950s. I was born in 1964 here in Daytona, and we lived off Silver Beach for about 5 years, and then moved down to Port Orange back in the 1960s when it was really a desolate area, and of course it's grown tremendously since then. After the 15 years of building houses, my father and his partner Bob Powell and Bob Moore started selling mobile homes in Port Orange, and they ended up building over 2,000 mobile homes, selling 2,000 homes, and built parks down there in Port Orange. They were all called estates. We tried to raise the status of what was called trailer parks back then to Maplewood Estates, Tanglewood Estates, Briarwood Estates, Laurelwood Estates, and we still own Maplewood Estates down in Port Orange today, as well as Treasure Isle next door to it. My father's partner his background was sales. He had a life insurance sales company also up in Wisconsin. I'm sorry, not Wisconsin, Illinois. But he taught me incredible. For like 3 years, we went through the sales process, or the teaching it to me. And so between my father's quality of construction and Bob's sales, it was really successful. Here's some aerial photos of the property that my father and his partners developed down in Port Orange. There's a large chunk that was owned by some Canadian investors, and they were able to buy it in phases. My father was also involved with the Home Builders Association in the 1960s, and where they used to dress in white. He was also on the first planning commission of Port Orange in the 1960s. All this time he was continuing his love of aviation. This is a picture of my father with Conrad Yelvington, who was a friend and mentor of mine with his family business. It's a picture of my father at the Daytona Beach airport in the 1960s. Some more pictures of my father and his partner, and this is kind of hard to see, but that's Maplewood Estates, and right on Nova Road, and it was very, very desolate back then compared to what Nova Road is today. They also built Rose Bay Travel Park down in Port Orange. It's a campground that's become more of a manufactured home community. This is a picture of Rose Bay Campground, again on desolate Nova Road at the time by the railroad tracks down in Port Orange. And another picture of my father and his partners at the clubhouse of the property down there, Rose Bay Travel Park. We also got into developing land, building subdivisions down in Port Orange. We bought a large chunk of land at Taylor and Hensel Road, and built Spruce Creek Woods, Hensel Hill Estates, Pheasant Run. These are all like 1 acre lot subdivisions. We tried to develop smaller lots, but as they're still happening today, the residents didn't want any smaller lots at the time, so the city council didn't agree to that, which led to a bit of a different philosophy with us, which is not to fight City Hall, basically, just to go with what the city wants as far as development. In the late 1970s, my father's partner Bob Powell did a lot of driving around, and he noticed, which was a new industry at the time, of self-storage. There was 3 small self-storage facilities here in Daytona Beach in the late 1970s. It was a public storage and a used store right next to each other on Nova Road, and then Daytona Self-Storage, which we ended up purchasing later in the 1980s. But they joined the Self-Storage Association, which is our trade association, and went to the convention in 1978 and decided to build what's now our Port Orange depot on Nova Road near Spruce Creek Road. And it was the largest self-storage facility in the area, and we did the construction ourselves because we had the building background. At the time, it was just my brothers, Chuck and Craig Gittner, and I worked there in the summer. This is building South Daytona Storage, which was our second self-storage facility. And first one was called Maplewood Self-Storage, because it's next to Maplewood Estates down in Port Orange. So I grew up in Port Orange. I went off to the University of Florida, came back in 1986 and became the general manager for my father and his partner and their self-storage facilities. This is a picture of our first self-storage facility. And after college, I lived in the resident manager's apartment behind the office there at Port Orange Storage, Port Orange Depot, we call it now. for like 7 years. That was my bachelor pad. I met my wife Molly.
Where we spent our wedding night.
Yes, indeed. Right there. That's car I drove back then, Lincoln. So yeah. Soon afterward, we went on our honeymoon. That was good too. But we're always concerned, just like with the mobile home parks being called estates, we're really concerned always with our landscaping and our image with the self-storage facilities. That's Debbie Connors, which is now used to be Debbie Langs in 1992. I've been a member of the Port Orange South Daytona Rotary Club. There's a couple of Rotarians here today. In fact, Chris Christensen was the person who got me into Rotary back 30 years ago. And Sean Gebhardt's here too. And so we've always been active in the community, as well as I was on the board of the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Daytona Beach Chamber of Commerce. That's where I've got to know Tyler there, because he's at a lot of the events. We've always been involved with donating self-storage. This is excess self-storage units that we'll give to nonprofits, or this is the Girl Scout cookies. This is a picture of our Christmas party. At the time, this was our whole staff that I managed at the time. Barbara Machuda is still an employee of ours. She's been with us 30 years. My father and his partner split up, and then it was just my father and I in 1988. My father and I could continue to build and buy more self-storage facilities. And then we noticed the Halifax Shopping Center was for sale. That's the property that's now become the MG Grand Condominiums in Holly Hill. I bought the property for $2 million, and which I had to borrow from several places to get that much money, and then I spent about another $1 million on the property. But we ended up selling it to the condo developers at the time, which was in the mid-2000s, which was during the boom there. At the same time we were doing the shopping centers, we built the Tavern and Chapel in the Garden, which is we're still operating today. It's the estate on the Halifax. Craig Gittner, who used to work for us with the construction, my brother, is running the wedding business down in Port Orange. We also built the Clark office building down in Port Orange, which elevated our company image even more, I think, because people wanted to come to work for us more because we had a beautiful place. Our headquarters are still located there at the Clark office building. When we sold the Halifax Shopping Center to the condo developers, I 1031 that property into buying the Sunshine Mall, which is in South Daytona on US 1. It's a large property, has the ice rink in it. We actually ran the ice rink for a couple of years, and our number of employees went up to about 60. But I realized that wasn't my forte, and today we're back down to 40 employees. Our 14th self-storage facility is right here in the north end of the shopping center next to Publix, called Sunshine Depot. It used to be a call center. It went vacant for like 3 years, so we couldn't find a tenant. Ended up converting it to a 2-story climate-controlled self-storage facility, 60,000 square feet net rentable, and 40,000 square foot space. So it's 80,000 square foot gross and 60,000 square feet net rentable after you deduct for the hallways and such. These are some pictures of the wedding business that we have still in Port Orange. Estate on Halifax, really busy down there with the weddings about every week. We also own the All Aboard Market, which are new. We just changed the signs there. This is the also known as the Port Orange Flea Market. It's on US 1, about about half a mile south of Dunlawton. It's open Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays in the mornings, and about 130 vendor tables that you can rent for about $6 a day during the week, and about $10 a day during the weekends. Also in the mid-2000s, we we got into, we built Portofino condos on Riverside Drive next to our house there in Port Orange. That, right when we built that, the recession started hitting though. It was, we really lost some money on that project. So after this diversion of the Portofino condos and the shopping centers, we decided to shift our focus back into growing the self-storage division of our company. This is a picture of airport storage when it was being built in the 1980s. This is a picture of airport storage. This is at the Daytona Beach International Airport. It's a self-storage and office park and hangar facility that we own. This is a picture of the airplane hangars that are next to the airport storage. It's a picture of my parents, 2008. This is at their property in down Port Orange where we have the weddings. About this time, the recession was hitting pretty bad. My father actually got a really bad chronic liver disease, so we were taking him to treatments every week. It was pretty rough, and so about that time, well, like a year later, after he'd gotten sick, we were still flying a lot. About once a week we'd go flying, and that was kind of our main hobby to do together. But and on Memorial Day, 2009, this was May 29th, it had been raining for like 2 weeks, but finally the rain stopped, so we decided to go flying. And I was actually was going to take our son flying that day with me, and I'm really glad I didn't, because we were in a fatal plane crash, meaning my father died in the plane crash. I was the pilot, and we basically crash landed right here at Daytona International Airport. We were flying an Aero Commander, which is a really great airplane. It's very sturdy and steady. It's a twin-engine propeller, obviously, airplane, piston airplane. Seats like 7 people. We had an Aero Commander that looked kind of like this one, as well as a Waco biplane and Learjet and a Widgeon seaplane from World War II. So we would rotate the planes and fly them quite a bit. I came out that morning and did a full pre-flight of the airplane, and my father came out, and I got him in there, even though, like I say, he was very sick. And basically it turned out that we had a faulty fuel gauge, and basically we were out of fuel, and I didn't realize that we were supposed to have more fuel than we did. And I went to take off on the short runway there in Daytona, gave it full throttle, and as soon as I took off, the airplane started going on an angle to go higher, and both engines quit. But they were surging. I had full throttle, and so they were running out of gas, and then they would get gas. So it was causing the airplane to wobble through the air, basically. So I told the tower that I'm coming back to land, and turned back around to land on the parallel runway going westbound with the wind with me. Last thing my father said is, just head to the numbers. I said, yeah, I got it, and looked good, looked like we were going to make it. The last thing I remember, it was, it looked like I'm not going to make it. But I thought, well, I could land in the grass, because we had landed the Waco down in Massey Air Park in the grass quite a bit. So, yeah, basically it was a serious airplane crash. It pancaked right in. These are some clips of the TV news at the time, 2009. And this is a picture of the front of the airplane where the firemen were luckily right there, because there's a fire department place there at the airport. And they came and took the front of the airplane windshield out and lifted me out. I had 2 crushed vertebrae on my back. Also had a torn aorta, which is really serious. That's Princess Diana died of that. And my head hit the dash, and so I had a bunch of head injuries, and I hit this one instrument that's like ½ inch from my eye. It's like amazing that that eye would have been gone for sure. Some broken ribs, really banged up. What hurt the worst was my back though. But like I say, luckily they were right there. Luckily they buzzed me right to Halifax, had some awesome medical care. And I had my family that was, and friends that were giving lots of prayers and stuff, and miraculously I survived. I was like in the hospital for 3 weeks, and poor Molly, they were telling her that I might not make it through the night, that first night with that torn aorta. And then after I survived the first night, I was in a coma for like 5 days, and the second day they told her that I'd be in a wheelchair for the rest of my life because of this crushed vertebrae could be in my spine there. So all the time I was blissfully in a coma. She's freaking out about what am I gonna do? And but anyway, I had several surgeries and just had this miraculous recovery. I'm so glad that I had Molly to take care of me when I went home, because the guy that was sharing my room, he'd been there like 6 months in the rehab because he had nobody to take care of him when he went home. So basically I got busted out of recovery, came home, and it's awesome. So what I learned from it obviously is to enjoy each day, because you never know. I mean, life is so short. You can change in an instant. I mean, you can leave here today and get hit by a car, or whatever. And so anyway, it taught me a lot about gratitude, and this is a clip from a video of me 3 months later. It took me a while to walk again, and then I wore a back brace for about another 3 months. I lost like 30 pounds just in that 3 weeks of being in the hospital. It's wild when you're laid up like that. Your muscles just atrophy so quick, and so I had to learn to do physical therapy. And my mom came up a lot and helped me with that too. I also lost 2 inches of height because my spine got condensed. Basically, I went from like just under 6 feet tall to like 5'9". So, but hey, that's cool. Nothing mattered anymore. It's like, as long as I listen. If any of you guys have had a serious accident or near-death experience, or if you dealt with pain, like I had for 3 months, to have pain and then not have pain is awesome. I mean, it's nothing else matters. Like I say, you're never bored. I'm always grateful that I can just get up in the morning and walk. At the same time, when I came back to work, the recession was going on, and we had a bunch of debt at the time. My father and I used debt to grow the company, and our occupancy went down to self-storage because the recession was going on. This is 2009, and we were able to pay our interest payments, but not our principal payments, basically, on all our loans that we had on our properties. So we worked. Luckily, a lot of local banks worked with me. I kind of used the sympathy card, as well as the recession from the plane crash. But we had a lot of developmental properties, meaning it was like raw land that wasn't making any money. So we had to give back a lot of those properties to the banks. But like I say, I think the mental attitude thing from having the plane crash just put me in the right attitude. I often think if I wouldn't have gotten the plane crash, I might have had a heart attack or something, being so stressed, because I mean we were unable to pay the bills. Luckily, Mike Polito, our CFO, was here at the time. We had to do a 10% payroll deduction across the board, and everybody stuck with us, and you know, I'm so appreciative of that. So now my goal for the future, since the plane crash and the recession, is to actually pay down debt. So we've been able to do that, and our plan is to continue to grow the company, not using as much debt, but using cash flow. This is some key indicators that we use in our company that our CFO, Mike Polito, puts together for me. It's kind of like a dashboard, which I recommend if you guys, you know, can look at your important numbers for your accounting. This kind of compares where we were in 2009. This is as of the date of the plane crash, compared to where we are now. And some important things is we were losing $1.5 million a year back at that time, and basically we ran out of cash. We had no cash left. Kind of like the plane crash, we ran out of gas. Well, the company at the same time had run out of cash, so gas. Our occupancy was 62%, now it's 84%. Our break-even occupancy is 69% at the time. And now with our restructuring of the debt, we could lose 30% on our occupancy and still be cash flowing, which is awesome. We also lowered our debt service each year to $6 million from $8 million. So today we have 14 self-storage facilities. We're getting ready to open our 15th self-storage facility up in Ormond. We bought the SR Perot beer distributor on Granada near the railroad crossing up in Ormond, and that'll be our 15th facility. We hope to be open by the end of the year. It's going to be another 2-story, climate-controlled self-storage facility, as well as some outdoor parking. We own all of the self-storage facilities in the city of Port Orange, which is 4 of them. We have 2 in South Daytona and 4 in Daytona Beach and 3 in Ormond. We rebranded all of our properties to this all-aboard storage and have changed the colors. This is our first self-storage facility, which we still own today. This is a picture of Mason Nova Depot, Mason Nova Plaza, which I bought in 1998. And that was really in rough shape, that property. That's an older shopping center that had like holes in the roof at the time we bought it, where basically tenants weren't paying rent, and so therefore the landlord wasn't making improvements, and vice versa, so it was a vicious cycle there. This is Daytona Depot. This was one of the early properties that we still own. Bought that in 1988. And a picture of Young Depot on US 1 up in Ormond. This is Westport Depot. It's in Port Orange. It's by 95 off of Taylor Road. And this is a picture of our Sunshine Depot at Sunshine Mall. We also have offices. We found out early on that people wanted to run their businesses out of the self-storage units. So we started building glass front offices with a common restroom. Sean was a tenant there, and so is Chris actually, at those properties. And so it's a good like starter business, incubator type business. We have one at the Daytona Airport off of Clyde Morris, as opposed to the other incubator at the airport, and 2 in Port Orange. These are some pictures of our ribbon cutting of the Sunshine Depot, which happened last December. This is a picture of Molly and I's oldest daughter, Emma, who's been a depot manager for 5 years with us. She now goes to Stetson University and is studying elementary education. So we're sort of an emerging 4th generation business with Emma working at the property, as well as our other daughter, Camille, has been working at the property. And we have another son, Doug, who that goes to Father Lopez. This is a picture of a ribbon cutting. My mom and Emma and Molly were all there. for that. And it's a state-of-the-art property with all the bells and whistles. This is a picture of our org chart, which I spent a lot of time thinking about our organization and the processes of our company, making sure that they can run like a machine. And these are all our self-storage managers, which make up the bulk of our 40 employees. Mark Ham is here today. He's our director of operations. Mark comes from public storage. He was a regional manager there for 14 years, and then before that he was in the apartment business. Mike Polito, our CFO, also comes from the apartment industry. He worked for a REIT, a large REIT, and so they bring a lot of knowledge and capability there. We have our own maintenance department. David Stroud is here with Keith and Mike and Zach, and so we taking care of our properties is really important. Some of our accounting staff is here. There they are. Black shirt crew, which by the way, when I pulled in, I saw the black shirts. I was like, all right, my team's here. Support team. Stuart Lecty's here. He's the manager of our mobile home parks in Port Orange, Maplewood and Treasure Isle Estates. We're also selling mobile home lots there. In 2004, we had some hurricanes here in Daytona, and we had pine trees that demolished about 20 or 30 of the homes in our park. We had to move them out, which left us with vacant lots. So now we're slowly filling the parks back up with new manufactured homes there in Port Orange. So my job in our company is to go around communicating some of our core values, which are the three of them that I try to tout whenever I see our people. Is real simple, but keep your commitments. In other words, just do what you say you're going to do. And these core values go back 30, 40 years. And like when we were in the construction industry, it was actually unusual for a construction company to keep their commitments, or like show up on time or whenever you say you're going to show up for an appointment. Very simple, but that's one of our core values in our company still today. Another core value is to take your job seriously, which our job is customer service. That's how our key to our success is serving our customers. So we take that really, really, really serious. But at the same time, I try to teach our people not to take it too personal. When you get a complaint from a customer, obviously solve it, but don't take it personal, because otherwise, it'll lead you up. And stay humble there. Our third core value that this is a picture of what I have in my office. It's called Kaizen. It's a practice of continual improvement, and it kind of goes along with what I learned from the plane crashes each day. Living, having your best life ever, and that change is good. Change is inevitable, especially in this day and age with technology and everything. So those are the core values that we live by, and it all goes back to customer service and serving our customers. We have 8,000 customers in the self-storage and the mobile home parks, so we want to take care of. That's really our biggest asset, is all of our customers. A couple things that we do at our company that might be unique is each year our leadership team goes on a strategic planning retreat, which we go off-site. In fact, the first couple of years we spent 2 nights out of town in Orlando at a hotel, and we get the ideas of the items that we need to talk about from all our employees. First, the people that can't go on the leadership retreat, we survey them and come up with a list of action items. Then we meet and try to get the action items for the next year. And then each week we then meet again to follow up on the action items and keep that accountability going and making sure that we're taking care of all the things that we chose to take care of. We also have a monthly meeting with all of our self-storage managers. We've been going to Hibachi Grill right after work, and then we meet for an hour with all the folks. We also have a division of All Aboard properties called All Aboard Angels, where we do community service events. These are things I really learned about from Rotary, but this is us at the Port Orange Family Days doing the feeding the children everywhere. We go to the Tortugas once a year and have a family picnic with all our staff, all our people. But something else that's pretty unique is we have an annual financial goal for our company. And if we can make that goal, I invite all the employees and their guests or spouse on a cruise to the Bahamas. It's a 3-day cruise. We get a Greyhound bus, come to the office, start tailgating, and jump on the bus, and we go down to Port Canaveral and just do a 3-night cruise on Royal Caribbean. But it's awesome because I know a lot of you guys never have had the chance to go reconnect with your spouse and everything, and plus we have some team building fun on the cruise, so we can have it as a write-off. But we had some rock climbing competition. We had a scavenger hunt on the ship. Pretty awesome because it's so hard to beat. We looked at doing different celebrations like that, but you're talking not the biggest thing is we have to close all our stores, but some people aren't able to go. But we usually take about 50 people, and it's like $300 each. So you're talking $15,000 to $20,000 a year, which a lot of companies my size give that out in bonuses. But we're able to do it and celebrate and have the fellowship and camaraderie, which is that lasts longer than money. Lastly, something else we're doing here in the future is we're giving away free space. That's the one thing that we have. And I'm kind of jazzed up after coming to these Million Cups that I want to give out an entrepreneurial grant. And so we have some applications on some of the tables, and we have some in the back. You can see Paul Bates here up front. Or you can go to our website, and it's for a new startup or an existing business that might need retail space or office space or warehouse space. You can apply. The deadline's May 15th, 2016, and you just write like a 250-word essay, and then we're gonna get together. Michael is helping us promote this endeavor, and so then we're gonna choose who we can give out the grant to. We're also planning on a $1,000 scholarship. Again, something I learned at Rotary that we do with the student athletes is high school seniors that want to go off to college and have an economic need, that want to study business or real estate. We're going to have another application online through social media to have those folks apply for a scholarship. I think that's it.
Wow. Thank you. This is the portion of the program where we get to ask Andy some questions, so please, as we go around the room, make sure to introduce yourself. Who would like the first question?
Hi, good morning, Andy. Thanks for being here. Joe Corey, I own the Leadership Development Company. I want to ask you a question. Great presentation. You're really blessed to have parents who, such a strong family. Do you recall when your dad started mentoring and coaching you to make the shift from being someone who understood the business to running the business? That major event that takes a period of time to do to become someone who knows what you're doing to how it gets done.
Yes. Well, I think first off, we grew up, around the dinner table. The conversations were about business. About what's going on during the day, and it was all, when you have a small family business, and my mom was involved with it too. I mean, she's been an entrepreneur herself with owning a restaurant up in Orme by the Sea, and owning and running the motels with her first husband. And so that, and I think two things that make it a success for a family business is, number one, having a parent that is willing to give up authority or control. That's number one. And number two is a person our age that is willing to take responsibility. So you need those two items. I mean, it sounds simple, but a lot of times the second generation or whatever isn't capable of taking ownership or taking responsibility. So you need both those those things, I think, for a family business to succeed. But my father was awesome. I mean, you know, he obviously taught me a lot, and his office is right next to my office, and we haven't really done anything with it after these 7 years, because I feel like he's still there in spirit to guide me and help me with future decisions.
Good morning, Andy. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's my voice. Good morning, Andy. Tyler LeCombe from Networks Inc. Thank you so much for your time this morning. This has been awesome. Some of the philosophies that you use in your mission statement, Kaizen and stay humble, where did those come from originally? Were those ones you gathered over a lifetime? Were they ones that your mother and father instituted into you?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time, Tyler, working on our core values, and you know, it's so hard to narrow it down because I read some books. The guy that started Zappos, which is the shoe sales thing, he has an awesome book out that was very inspirational. I can't remember the name of it, but it's Zappos. If you look on Amazon, and their company has some awesome core values. I think they narrowed it down to about 10, but it's so hard to weed them out and to remember them. But that's primarily where I got our core values. Is, you know, that's, I guess, the flattery of advertising is just steal other people's core values. But it's got to really mean something, and I think our culture for our company is really it's me, or it's you for your company. And so you've got to stay true to your personality to figure out your culture. And so it's got to be true to your customers too. And that's what I tried to go at, is try to figure out what is my personality. And these represent me, which represents our company. So these are the ones that spoke to me the most. And I like having 3 because it's, you know, you have too many.
Andy, Michael Zaharias, great job. Thanks so much for agreeing to give this presentation today. Really great story. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about the plans for the future in terms of all-board storage. What goes into the decision-making process behind deciding to purchase a location? How important is the location, visibility, traffic-wise, to what you do as the storage centers?
Okay, good. Yeah, we're hoping to continue to open one property a year, which is kind of a slow, continual growth. We have 15 now, so that means by the year 2020 we'll have 20, and continue the cash flow going up. Our main focus is existing self-storage facilities, buying more of them. That's number 1 priority. The second priority is to buy some raw land or an existing building and convert it to self-storage. The reason that's a second priority is I don't want to flood the market with too much storage space. I'd rather just buy out our competition. And you know, our competitive advantage is our people that are here today. Our management is our focus with our customer service. So there's a lot of mom and pop self-storage facilities in the United States. There's like 59,000 self-storage facilities, which is crazy when you think about it. And it's a growing industry. Over the past 40 years, it's grown like no other commercial real estate. If you talk to like stock people or whatever, it's like, they call it belle of the ball because of its performance over the past 40 years. But yeah, self-storage, so we look for retail locations that work best, and also demographic nodes of higher socioeconomic areas work best for self-storage, because those are the folks that have the discretionary income to spend on storing their toys. Another interesting thing with self-storage is the average size of a self-storage unit has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over the years. It's now like a 10 by 20 is the average size, where it used to be a 5 by 5. 1 in 10 households rent a self-storage facility, but you don't want any more than 7 square feet of self-storage per person in a market. If you get over 7 square feet per person, then it becomes overbuilt. unless it's a real dynamic market that needs the storage. So anyway, we look at demographics, traffic flow are the main reasons and our main criteria.
Hi, I'm Corinne Heck with Details Flowers, and this is more of a fun question. There's this TV show where they go around to unclaimed self-storage. Do you have a lot of that occurring? And
And how do we find out that schedule?
yeah, like this is fun. Like I've always wanted to go. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, what's behind door number 1? So
It's online? It's on the website.
Yeah, right. Mark handles that. Yeah, each month we have to we sell out people's stuff, the stuff they don't want anymore. Basically, in fact, a lot of times I tell people if they don't, if they can't afford it or they don't want it, we will sell their stuff for them. We're not allowed to make any more money than the money that they owed us. So it's not a money-making situation, but it's a way to clear out the unit and rent it to somebody else. But half of our properties have gone to online auctions, which you can go to our website and look for auctions, and then you can bid on storage units. There's pictures of the product inside there. That way you don't have to go to the auction if you're out of town, or if it's a rainy day and you don't want to go to the auction. Whereas half of our other properties are still, on-site auctions that we run ourselves. Again, we do them every month. They're toward the end of the month. There's a legal procedure we have to follow where we put an ad in the newspaper. We send a certified letter. We try to call the people. And if there's ever a doubt, we don't sell out. That's kind of another motto of ours. In other words, if we open up the door and it's, whoa, this is worth way more than the people owed us, we'll wait a month and try to contact that person. But yeah, we've had some interesting things over the past 30 years or 35 years of the people's stuff. But typically it's furniture, clothing, books, that type of thing that's at the auction. But we've had, I think something interesting, we had a Barbie collection at Jimmy Ant Depot, and that sold for